Fellow members of Phi Beta Kappa and friends, my name is Jason Myers, Associate Professor of Biology and Neuroscience and President of the ADA of New York chapter of Phi Beta Kappa here at Colgate University. We are assembled here and virtually spread across the globe for the purpose of receiving into membership of our society certain persons who, having been duly elected by this chapter, desire to be admitted to its privileges and opportunities.
Mr. President, members of Phi Beta Kappa, and guests, I have the honor to present the elected members of the Colgate University class of 2020 who, agreeably to our invitation, expressed their desire to be initiated.
According to Phi Beta Kappa documents dating from 1779, 3 years after its founding, the president of Alpha Chapter of Virginia at the College of William and Mary greeted initiates as follows. This society was founded by a few friends. At first, it was confined to a small number of very worthy students. They planted the scion from which has grown this tree that now buds forth before your eyes with blossoms of harmony and concord. It was engrafted on the stock of friendship in the soil of virtue, enriched by literature. To cherish and keep it alive hath been the constant care of those members who have succeeded. You are about to become one of those successors, and it is our fondest hope that you in turn will come to cherish this society and will strive to perpetuate the spirit of this greeting. In accordance with the rules of this chapter, and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of attainment at Colgate University, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of Phi Beta Kappa. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of the chapter and have met with their approval. You have been formally notified of your election, and you have signified your desire to be enrolled as a member of this ancient and honorable society. I now call on Deborah Knuth-Klink, Professor of English, to give the history of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. I would also like to take a moment to celebrate Professor Knuth-Klink. She's been an officer in our local chapter for decades, including several serving as its president, and it has been an ardent supporter of the chapters and the society's missions. This represents Professor Knuth-Klink's final ceremony with us as she officially retires at the end of this academic year. So I would like to thank Professor Knuth-Klink for her service and invite her to share with us the history of this society and our chapter.
Thank you. The history of Phi Beta Kappa begins on December 5th, 1776, when a group of young men studying at the College of William and Mary at Williamsburg, Virginia, met at the Apollo Room of the old Raleigh Tavern, a picture of which I think should be on your screen, I guess it's still there, to create a secret society, at once intellectual and social in purpose. The college already had 2 student societies, but they were a little more boisterous. They were more like social clubs. The founders of Phi Beta Kappa were looking for something more intellectually serious. The president's greeting to new members in 1779 reads in part, "Here you are to indulge in matters of speculation, that freedom of inquiry that ever dispels the clouds of falsehood by the radiant sunshine of truth." In their clandestine meetings, the members seriously debated a host of questions, such as whether a wise state hath any interest nearer at heart than the education of its youth, and whether any form of government is more favorable to public virtue than a commonwealth. The first college society to have a Greek letter name, Phi Beta Kappa, introduced the essential characteristics of the Greek societies that followed it: an oath of secrecy, a badge, mottos in Greek and Latin, a code of laws, an elaborate form of initiation, a seal, and a secret handshake. The organization was created as a secret society so that founders would have the freedom to discuss any topic they chose. Freedom of inquiry has been a hallmark of Phi Beta Kappa ever since. The establishment soon afterward of chapters at Yale in 1780 and Harvard in 1781 ensured that Phi Beta Kappa would survive the arrival of General Cornwallis's troops at Williamsburg and the ensuing siege that forced the temporary closing of the College of William and Mary. During the following half century, 4 more chapters were founded at Dartmouth in 1787, Union in 1817, Bowdoin in 1825, and Brown in 1830. Then after a pause of 15 years, a slightly more rapid expansion began in 1845. The first African American was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in 1874. And in 1875, for the first time, women were granted membership in the society. In 1877, the first Phi Beta Kappa Graduate Association was founded in New York City by Elihu Root, distinguished lawyer and statesman. Graduate associations offer members in major population centers the opportunity to continue an active affiliation with Phi Beta Kappa after graduation. By 1883, there were 25 Phi Beta Kappa chapters, and these, feeling the need of a closer unity and a greater uniformity of practices, joined in organizing the national body, the United Chapters of Phi Beta Kappa. In 1988, the national body changed its name to the Phi Beta Kappa Society to reflect the fact that the organization includes the chapters and the local associations. The chapters, which are made up primarily of faculty members at academic institutions, select new members of Phi Beta Kappa. The associations, which are made up of alumni in communities and often provide scholarships or other recognition for promising students. So the faculty is the basis for your election and initiation here today. At present, there are 286 chapters at institutions of higher learning and 50 associations. The original organization at William and Mary, as I have mentioned, was a secret society, and the oath transmitted at the first 6 northern branches contained a promise to preserve inviolate the secrets of the same. Tradition has preserved 2 no longer secret signs, which are often shared with initiates. When members met, they greeted each other by drawing the backs of the index and middle finger across their lips from left to right. Thus, apparently, affirming that their lips were sealed. They followed this sign with a secret handshake of the index and middle fingers, like the Brownie or Cub Scout promise. As a result of the anti-Masonic agitation of the 1830s, most of the branches followed the lead of Harvard's chapter and repealed the injunction of secrecy. They retained, however, the medal or key which the founders had instituted for the better establishment and sanctitude of our unanimity. The interpretation of its symbolic engraving has continued to constitute a part of the form of initiation. The present key virtually reproduces the original design established at William and Mary. The lower stem was not initially part of it. They added the stem to the medal at Yale, where people thought it would be helpful to wind pocket watches. On the front, it bears the Greek letters Phi Beta Kappa, the initials of the Greek words Philosophiae Biou Gubernates, love of wisdom, the governor, gubernates of life. The 3 stars in the upper left-hand corner of the key symbolize the aims of the society: friendship, morality, and learning. A pointing hand in the lower corner symbolizes aspiration. On the reverse side are inscribed the letters S and P, which stand for the society's second motto, the Latin words Societas Philosophiae, meaning philosophical society. Below them appears the date of the founding of the first chapter, December 5th, 1776, and the member's name and the chapter from which they were initiated. Phi Beta Kappa has a long history at Colgate. Two of Colgate's earliest presidents were members. George Eaton who had been initiated at Union College, and Ebenezer Dodge, who had joined through Brown University. When John James Lewis joined the faculty in 1868 to become professor of civil history, English literature, and oratory, he and others saw a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa as one means of raising and rewarding higher academic standards at Colgate. At that time, there was no national organization of Phi Beta Kappa, so in order to establish a new chapter, a college was required to seek approval from the oldest chapter in the state. In 1875, Lewis sent in such a petition for Colgate, which was then known as Madison University, to the Alpha chapter of New York at Union College. And this request was apparently approved. However, the Union chapter neglected to tell Lewis about the favorable vote. It took 3 years, several unanswered letters to the Union chapter, and the intervention of a prominent New York City attorney and Civil War general for Lewis to be notified of the chapter's approval. Thus, in June 1878, a delegation came to Hamilton to present our charter. At the initial meeting of the chapter, the 7 remaining members of the Colgate faculty who had not been elected at their own undergraduate institutions and 6 graduating seniors were elected to Phi Beta Kappa, giving us that great Colgate number, 13 inductees. A week later, the first initiation ceremony was held in the old chapel, which was on the top floor of Alumni Hall, welcoming 21 alumni members. These were the first in a long line of Colgate Phi Beta Kappas who have brought distinction to this society and their alma mater through their outstanding achievements in the ministry, education, law, medicine, business, and the other professions. It is into this society and this chapter that we now welcome you.
We heard Professor Nuth-Klenk tell us of the Society's motto, from which it derives its initials, Philosophia Biu Kubernetes. During Phi Beta Kappa's Golden Jubilee in 1928, Colgate's Dean, William Crenshaw, remarked on this pillar of the Society. It is no mere abstract statement of an abstract principle, but rather a fine poetic and symbolic utterance. It means strictly philosophy, the helmsman of life. It presents philosophy in the similitude of a pilot steering a great ship across unknown waters. Like all happy metaphors, it fuses many separate thoughts in one luminous idea, which gives forth light and inspiration. While Dean Crenshaw's imagery and the words from the founders of our society are drawn from an era that seems in many ways removed from our fast-paced life, rapid-fire tweets, and free same-day shipping straight to your car if you order in the next 1 hour, 23 minutes. They remind us of the timeless thirst for knowledge and the importance of slow, ponderous reflection on that knowledge of ourselves, of our disciplines, and the unknown waters into which we all sail. Now, to the initiates, it is time for you to pledge your support to this society. Given our distance, I ask that you show your consent with a hearty thumbs up and hold it for a minute so we can share this with all those joining us in this celebration. So I ask, do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to Phi Beta Kappa, uphold its standards, obey its laws, and seek to reflect credit upon your affiliation with this venerable fellowship of learners? Great. Now, normally at this point in the ceremony, we would invite you forward to sign our roll book. Although Colgate's chapter of the Society was founded in 1878, a roll book was not used as part of the initiation ceremony until 1916. What began life as a humble notebook now contains the names of some of the greatest and most influential alums of Colgate's last 104 years, including Johnny Marks, class of 1931, the author of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, among other beloved holiday carols, as well as Representative Antonio Delgado, class of 1999. We will invite you to affix your name to the book during the May 2021 celebration of your class. For those who cannot make it next year, we'll work to get your names into the book in another way. This is also the point in the ceremony when you would be welcomed into the society, receiving the chapter's greetings in the form of the ancient grip of this society. In a time of social distancing, we cannot share what used to be the secret handshake, and I'm not sure that the secret elbow bump will catch on. So once again, we'll have to wait to share this greeting in person next May. However, in case there happen to be any Phi Beta Kappa members socially distancing with you, and so that you can practice for next May, here's a brief tutorial for the grip. You extend your first 2 fingers of your right hand while keeping the last 2 slightly curled. Then as you shake hands, you grip the first 2 fingers with your 3rd and 4th fingers. Though the grip fell out of favor in the early 20th century, there's been a resurgence of interest in it recently. So we invite you to share this symbol of our society with fellow members in preparation for receiving the official handshake next May. One of the traditions of our chapter is the awarding of the Phi Beta Kappa Prize, which is given to the member of the inducted Phi Beta Kappa class with the highest overall grade point average. This prize was endowed in honor of Daniel Saraceno, professor of mathematics and longtime president of this chapter. This year's Phi Beta Kappa Prize winner is Renee Congdon, a Spanish major. I am delighted to present her the 2020 Phi Beta Kappa Prize and to welcome her as the first inductee of the class of 2020. We will now invite our new initiates to give us a little wave hello as the treasurer, Jeff Holm, associate professor of biology, reads their names.
So I will read names and majors. I apologize that some of the double majors are cut off, so I might not be able to include both of them. Eric Bragg, an economics and international relations major from Ridgewood, New Jersey. Keo Briganti, a computer science and peace and conflict studies major from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Madeline Congdon, an economics major from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Kevin Coogan, an economics major from Barrington, Rhode Island. Lydia Culp, an English and Russian and East Asian studies major from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Srečko Čurković, a physics major from Banja Luka, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Ryan De Silva, a physics major from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Allison DePite, a cellular neuroscience major from Bloomingdale, New Jersey. Yanjun Gong, an applied mathematics major from Shenzhen, Guangdong, China. Gloria Han, a creative writing major from Braintree, Massachusetts. Chloe He, an international relations major from Tsingtao, China. Nadia Hourbi, a molecular biology major from Ariana, Tunisia. Kendra Jeans, a biochemistry major from Evergreen, Colorado. Allison Jordahl, a computer science major from Arlington, Massachusetts. Minju Kim, a psychological sciences major from Seoul, South Korea. Maggie Larson, an English major from Fort Collins, Colorado. Marlene Lawston, a molecular biology major from Albany, New York. Zhongwen Lian, a computer science major from Beijing, China. Riching Lin, an economics major from Ningbo, China. Alexis Luthringer, a film and media studies major from Syracuse, New York. Levon Mekarishvili, a molecular biology major from Tbilisi, Georgia. Alexandra Millett, an international relations major from Montgomery, New Jersey. Helen Masevich, an economics and Spanish major from Millstone Township, New Jersey. Fanyi Mo, a psychological science major from Hainan, China. Alexandra Ni, a computer science major from Sichuan, China. Kate Norton, a French major from Jamesville, New York. Jacob Pilowa, an astrophysics major from Chardon, Ohio. Chiranjeev Permesser, a physics major from Mauritius. Nicholas Quinn, a geography major from Macungie, Pennsylvania. Anne Robertson, a psychological science major from Holliston, Massachusetts. Katie Robertson, a psychological science major from Holliston, Massachusetts. Charlotte Saltzgaber, a computer science major from Weston, Connecticut. Jacob Scott, an economics major from Whitesboro, New York. Ruchit Shrestha, a mathematics and computer science major from Bhaktapur, Nepal. Cindy Vo, a psychological science major from Raleigh, North Carolina. Mulaney Williams, an economics major from Poughkeepsie, New York. And Ziyu Zhou, a political science major from Shanghai, China. Congratulations.
I shall now give the charge to the initiates, which is a passage from an address given at Brown University by Charles Evan Hughes, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and later Secretary of State. The occasion was the 100th anniversary of Brown's chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. While this speech was given in 1930, it remains perhaps surprisingly timely. It has been part of Colgate's initiation ceremony for many years, in part because though the Chief Justice completed his undergraduate education at Brown University, he began it at Colgate. Chief Justice Hughes wrote, "The unique position of Phi Beta Kappa and its usefulness can be safeguarded only by the unremitting attention to what has become the law of its being. The prestige of the society is due to the fact that it is an association of men and women of scholarly attainments who have proved their merit according to the accepted standards of college discipline. The best proof of the utility of the society is the esteem in which election is held. Whatever may be said of the value of various activities proposed for the organization, the essential thing to hold to the theory of the society is a fellowship of scholars, admission to which is an honor conferred by reason of demonstrated worth. The success of Phi Beta Kappa continues to lie in what it is rather than in what it does. The particular interest in Phi Beta Kappa is in liberal education. Intensive critical study of educational aims and methods has found nothing to take its place. Liberal education means the development by careful training of the capacity to appreciate what has been done and thought, and the ability to make worthwhile appraisals of achievements, doctrines, theories, and proposals. It is liberal because it emancipates. It signifies freedom from the tyranny of ignorance, and from what is worse, the domination of folly. Learning is not its aim so much as intelligence served by learning. At this time, when the world stands in need of every influence that favors intellectual discipline and achievement, as opposed to complacent indifference, the meaning of Phi Beta Kappa is of heightened value. It holds aloft the old banner of scholarship, and to those students who have turned aside from easier paths, and by their talent and fidelity have proved themselves to be worthy, it gives the fitting recognition of a special distinction. This is the charge to initiates, according to the Chief Justice. I think when we look around at the world around us, we can see the desperate need for intellectual discipline over complacent indifference. So your charge is to keep this spirit alive and to bring your full self to meet the challenges of today and whatever the future may bring. There is a coda to our charge that comes from the formal statement of initiation given at Colgate's first Phi Beta Kappa ceremony in 1878. As a welcome of one chapter to another, and a welcome to the newest initiates at Colgate, it has become the traditional ending of the charge to our initiates. Let your new relationship to each other incite you to diligence in the acquisition of knowledge. Let it be a stimulus to an honorable emulation while we have the pleasure of meeting together, and let it always constitute a strong bond of union when we are separated by our several stations in life. Certainly, as our stations in life keep us separated today, know that the bond of your achievements here at Colgate are celebrated across the world as you join the ranks of some of Colgate's most prestigious alumni. I conclude this ritual in words even older, words from that ritual of initiation back in 1779 when the society was very young indeed. These sentiments are particularly addressed to those in the audience today who are themselves members of Phi Beta Kappa. You all at this moment experience in yourselves the heartfelt satisfaction which I do at this our valuable acquisition. Friendship herself, pleased with her success, now smiles at this addition to our society. Let it be our joint care to extend the friendship which has ever been exercised by this society to these new members, that they may hereafter become veterans in her service. And now, by election of the chapter, by your assent to its pledge, the Society's requirements for initiation are fully satisfied. I therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society here and joining us virtually, declare you members of the Eta chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of New York, authorized to wear a key as its badge. You are now lifetime members of the nation's oldest academic honor society. Be active in its programs and chapters and alumni associations. Support its endeavors and lofty goals. Be a working advocate for the liberal arts in our society. And may a love of learning continue to be your helmsman as you sail into the unknown waters of tomorrow. It is my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter and to declare this meeting hereby adjourned.